fast life, the fast living. They see the ambition, they know I'm past driven. Look, we are not the same, this is not a game. I be swerving through the city in and out of lanes. Yeah, cause if I see it, then I want it, then you better know I got it. Ain't no options, I'm about to do the damn thing. I'm an outlaw, you can never catch me. I'm in first place, you can never.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And today we are here to discuss Godfather of Harlem. This is season 3, episode 5, titled Angel of Death. So they had a little hiatus last week for Super Bowl, but we're back again this week. And before we even get started with the conversation, make sure you subscribe to our channel, click that like button and the notification bell. All of those things helps us grow, and you'll be in the loop whenever we post new content. So you guys are ready to get started. This was a good one.
I'm ready.
It was a good one.
Yes, I really enjoyed this episode. He won that battle. So now he's trying to put all his ducks in a row so that he can receive the drugs. But it's like everything that Bumpy does, you know, somehow things just don't quite go his way.
Yeah, put his ducks in a row and then comes up with a lame duck. But what can we say?
Yep. And so, you know, this episode too, we've seen him be challenged, you know, his morals and things like that. So it was a lot going on both ends for Bumpy. It started off with the dream that he's having, and well, more so of a nightmare.
Literally.
There's a newspaper headline, saying that the Angel of Death is in town. And so, you know, he brings in the junkie and he's kind of like, you know, giving the junkie the drugs, and he passes out and dies, but then comes back and says, you know, who did you think it was? You know, you are the Angel of Death. And the picture on the newspaper goes and transforms into a picture of Bumpy. So he's being challenged morally.
Mm-hmm. He still has a conscience because he knows what he's doing to the community. As much as he is helping the community, helping to pay for education, things like that, but he knows that he's essentially destroying the community as well.
Mm-hmm.
He giveth and he taketh away.
Yeah, and that wasn't the only time he got called out, because it was also with the artist, you know, the gentleman that used to be on drugs, and he is now clean for 2 years, but he's made a name for himself in the art world with his paintings. And so Mamie commissions him to make some artwork, and he also challenges Bumpy in his artistry, the way he views him.
Okay.
Which could have been very well been an insult. You know, Bumpy took it as an insult.
He's lucky he was dealing with Bumpy. And I say lucky in the sense that, okay, even though you may look at Bumpy or see Bumpy as a demon and as an angel at the same time, you don't get paid to depict a caricature of a man like Bumpy. I mean, there just has to be some common sense in what you paint. And besides, you were getting paid. And so Bumpy really showed me some humility, because I thought he was going to kill him. But
right. When he pulled that razor out,
that blade out, I said, okay, here we go. But instead, you know, he bought the painting, he cut it up because he didn't desire it, and then told his wife Mamie to finish paying the man. That's the sense of, that's not a demon to me. A demon would have cut the picture up, got his money back, and slit his throat. So he did have some humility there, but I just couldn't quite figure out what was on this artist's mind.
Right.
No, because for artists, you know, art is abstract. And so he said, I see duality in everybody, including himself. So, you know, when you look at art, I mean, it doesn't have to make sense in the person's mind, in Bumpy's mind, anybody's mind. That is what the artist viewed and things. So, you know, he meant no offense when he did it. And honestly, it was a true depiction of Bumpy.
Yeah, he meant no offense.
He meant no offense.
He was like looking in the mirror.
But Tiffany,
it was his own conscience that was bothering him.
Tiffany, yes. art forms come in many different types of forms. You have portraits, you have abstract art,
Yep.
He wasn't commissioned to do abstract art. He was commissioned to make a portrait. Now, as a artist, you have to know the difference when to use abstract art and a caricature of someone and a portrait. That you don't have to go to.
He had portraits too. If you looked around the room, he had
few.
Bumpy
all the point. So he knows how to do them. It's just that he decided to make a caricature, and a grotesque caricature at that, of Bumpy, and thinking that Bumpy would be okay with that. Now, my concern with that is, I don't know what you were on, and I'm hoping you still aren't doing drugs. But
Well,
you
he's
had
dead now.
Yeah.
Well,
He could be. You know,
No,
he must.
is.
No, he is. He overdosed at the end.
Yeah, I'm saying at the point in time he did the so-called portrait.
Yeah, he was sober then.
Well, you might think, but I would rather have had him high on something to do such a thing, not knowing, Bumpy, Bumpy, what he's capable of. It'd have been no way I would have painted a picture.
Listen, Bumpy's words drove him back to
drugs. Yeah, he told him
it did. He told him he was talentless,
a talentless
and all this stuff. And a lot of times when people have addictions, that most of the time they're doing it to cover up hurt. And so that was like an open wound for Bumpy to say that to him and everything too, because 2 years sober is not a long time.
Right.
And so that, trust me, Mamie is gonna take issue with that. You're gonna take issue with that, and I'm going a step further.
I don't know.
She's gonna leave Bumpy over that.
I don't think so, because Mamie, just like Mamie asked, Mamie asked him, she said, "You see my husband as evil?" And so, because but even Mamie was taken back with that portrait. I mean, that was not something that either one expected to have. Certainly, you wouldn't hang that in your home. I mean, where would that be good for?
Absolutely not.
Come on.
She was taken back, but she was more disgusted with his response. And she said so at the house. She said to him, like, well, I'm starting to see you the same way. So her viewpoint, and then when she finds out this young man is dead,
it's gonna be a wrap.
She and Bumpy are gonna be, it's gonna be a.
And look, we interviewed the first ladies of Godfather of Harlem, Ilfinesh Madera, who plays Mamie, and she kind of referenced a little Trouble in Paradise in her interview too. So if you haven't watched our interview with Ilfinesh and with Antoinette Pro Legacy, we have that up on our page right now. Go into the interviews tabs and watch that now.
You won't have to do that. I'll put a card up here, and that card will take you directly to it. Even
better. But yeah, that was a great interview, and she, Mamie suggested there was going to be some friction with her and Bumpy. So y'all are absolutely right about that.
Right. And that's just added fuel, Tiffany, to what Mamie is now already going through with her husband. So because if everything were okay in the household, she probably would have been as distraught over that image as Bumpy was. But as you said, Bumpy went off, as I would have, to be perfectly honest. I would not have had a razor in my pocket, but then again, I don't know. Let me take a step back. But go
ahead.
But I'm just saying, if it were me, I would have been equally upset.
I mean, absolutely. But Bumpy was challenged again this episode when he spoke to Captain Field. And, Captain Fields was basically letting him know, I would rather resign from my position than to, first of all, be caught between two mob bosses that are going to air me out either way or worse.
Mm-hmm.
And he also said that I don't want to be a participant in ruining my community. And that's the part. And so you got to think, like, stuff like that. Bumpy kept trying to justify it this episode. He always does, saying, like, it's a choice on behalf of the people that do the drugs. Like, you are making a decision to do these drugs that could possibly ruin your life. And whether I distribute the drugs or not, somebody's going to put the drugs in the streets.
Well,
he always finds a way to, like, make it okay in his mind.
Yeah, it's a deflating argument, but my point is, if there weren't drugs to be had, then maybe people wouldn't be as bad off as they are. However, the police chief, Captain Fields, you know, you were talking about the love of your community, but then you take bribes from mobsters. So that you can't possibly be talking about loving your community and taking bribes from mobsters, because those two things are going to harm your community at some point. Now, I'm glad he rediscovered his common sense or his conscience. I'm glad he rediscovered it and said it's best for me to quit. And yes, it was. If you're gonna play with the, you know, if you're gonna play with the dogs, you're gonna get dirty like a dog.
Yes.
So hey, yeah,
I think he realized that he got lost in the sauce for a little bit, but then he came back to his senses and he was like, "This is not for me. This is not who I am."
Well,
I think that was honorable of him to resign. But I also think, yes, he took the money, but I think he also took the money out of fear. Also, because I'm like, how many people turn down the mob? Like,
that's true.
It's either Bumpy or it's the Italians, and he probably took it
Tiffany,
out of
fear. To that argument, quitting is just like turning down the money, because now, as he said, I'm going to quit, or even something worse can happen, because now that he quit, the mob is saying, okay, now
they probably will. They probably will.
He could.
But at least he's going out on his terms.
Right. He knows
because
too much for them to just let him go.
Destroy his reputation by him taking it. At least that way, at least he resigns with some dignity and say,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that was the most important thing for him.
My thing is not to take the money in the first place, because really,
I agree, but I think it's easier said than done. I mean, you know, as far as taking the money or your life,
his life still may be in danger, but we do have choices. It's just a matter of when you die. Do you take the money and then quit?
Right.
And die? You know, it's a matter of time. But or don't even get into that into that field where you can be compromised. So you have to, those things you have to keep in mind when you take a job. They're hazardous jobs. Do you take one? Like police officer today, you're responsible to take care of the community, but you want to come home after your duty is over. However, that doesn't give you the right to shoot and kill before you even are put in a situation where your life is being compromised. So you got to understand the duties and responsibilities you take on your job. Is this a job you can handle or not? Are you, you have the mental capacity to do it or not? I know I wouldn't be a police officer.
Now, we kind of have started talking about it, but if we go back to the beginning of how, things are starting to get arranged, Bumpy and Monsieur 98, they kind of set up a meeting in the real life, not in Bumpy's dream. So we out of his dream now. And in real life, they bring the same junkie in to test the drugs, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but that's the same dude from Raising Canaan.
Right.
I'm like, he's good at playing the junkie, ain't he?
He is. He sure is.
But so he confirms that the drugs are good. And so Bumpy wants to buy all of the drugs from Monsieur 98. He don't even want to chance it. He wants nothing left for the Italians. He wants them to come buy from him. But Monsieur 98, first of all, says that he wants the money up front. And then later on, when Jose Battle and Bumpy and Monsieur 98 are discussing the plans, he lets him know that I actually have to hear out the Italians. Like, my bosses have told me that I have to at least hear them out. And so, he talks to Colombo, and Colombo is like, we never pay all of it up front. We only do 50%. And, they're like, well, we have a better offer. Like, Bumpy's offer is solid, but Colombo threatens, like, if you do this, you're going to have beef, not only with me, but all 5 families. And he continues to try to undermine Bumpy's trustworthiness and eventually says he'll give a better offer, which I wasn't expecting his better offer to be what it was. Because when he rolled up into that cafe with that bag, I'm thinking maybe he had already gotten an advance on the drugs or something. But to see that chopped off head in that bag, that was very gruesome. And whoever was in charge of doing, the prosthetics or whatever for that head, they crushed it, because that looked
like him. It was very, real looking.
Oh my God, that's Good job. Here again though, it's a matter of battle rather of consciousness. What do you do? How do you talk to Colombo about, you say you're going to buy from him, and then you go to Bumpy, and now Bumpy is up to ante, and you're going to buy from Bumpy. Then you go back to Colombo, having to tell him that you're not selling. These jobs, man. I mean, these are hazardous.
Yeah, I was
jobs.
like, I wouldn't have gone back, because that's
No,
Me either.
you're really gonna go back to tell them no? That's it should have been once Bumpy agreed to buy it, that made
Done.
made the
Right.
transaction. That's
Done
it.
deal.
So you're gonna go back to the man and tell him that you're not selling to you. And he already said to Colombo, like, my people are businessmen. They're not really gangsters. So
Yeah.
the Italians already had the upper hand with that.
Mhm.
But that's how you could tell he was being greedy in that situation, because he was trying to see if he could keep up in the
Right.
situation, up in the price.
Exactly.
And I'm like, that's where it gets you when you being greedy.
Yeah, because he would have done the same thing. After Colombo had upped the ante, he would have gone back to Bumpy and tried to get more money. And then at some point, your head was, you were over your head, or your head was coming
Literally.
off.
Yeah. I think he did want to work with Bumpy, because Bumpy had already demonstrated that he was good for it as far as getting the money up front. It's just that his people had told him he was obligated to go talk to the Italians. But I think he would have been better off had he just made the deal.
Yeah, I would have been like, I talked to them. They didn't have to know that he didn't actually go over there to Colombo. I would have I spoke to them. Bumpy was better.
Yeah.
But yeah, he paid the price, and now Bumpy is out of the doogie. Colombo told him, you have to come and buy from me now, and that's even if I want to sell to you at all. So he's playing games at this point, and it's really a tough spot for Bumpy to be in, because I think Colombo even mentioned as much. He said all of Bumpy's businesses are based on the doogie, so that his businesses are going to fail without that product.
But there's another option.
I was about to say,
there's another option, because now that Nat, with the cocaine,
cocaine.
Yeah, even though Nat, I told you about the 2 strikes he already has, and I feel like this is a 3rd strike, because the action he took against the chick's husband,
right,
that's gonna cause friction
between him and Jose.
Bumpy.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's possible now the heroin that you were expecting to get, you may not get at all. And now you got to go back and explain to Bumpy how you messed that up. Yeah, the cocaine. I'm sorry. Yeah. Now you got to go back to Bumpy and explain how you messed that up. So,
and Chance warned him. He told him, first of all, Bumpy don't like you using drugs, so that's already against the rules. And then number 2, you trying to come at him with these drugs that you haven't even done your due diligence on. So that's number 2. And it was like, I get that Nat was, I guess, maybe trying to come with a legitimate offer and trying to prove his worth to the organization. But, as the gentleman explained, cocaine is not something that was easily accessible. It's already something that only the super rich can afford.
Right.
And if you heard that process, you understand why. He said it came from Peru, then it went to somewhere else, and then it went to Cuba, and then it went to Miami, and then it had to make its way up to the East Coast or New York somewhere. So,
and the Black community didn't have enough to pay for cocaine.
Yeah, but you know what?
And it was a long lead time on getting it. And when you did get it, you were paying a premium on an ounce. I mean, $3,000 for an ounce is steep.
Yes,
but
that was steep.
Let's go back to the actual cause of Pettigrew's situation. Here we go, another woman.
And you know exactly what I thought too.
And I thought
I've had the same thought. I was like, that kryptonite get him every time.
Yes, a married woman at that. Yeah.
Although he didn't know at first about her being married.
He did not know she was married.
For me, she was coming off rather cool, and to me, it was somewhat suspect with her. I wouldn't. I don't know. At some point I would have been a little pissed off. Look, I asked you for this, and you're skirting around this and skirting around that. Have a nice day. I don't have time to deal with that. But no, he got bit. You know,
Well, he tasted it too. He said it was good. He got a sample.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the woman.
I'm talking about the woman
Oh,
too.
you talking about?
Right.
He was bragging to Chance about
Yeah, he
her.
was bragging. Yeah, that's true too. I forgot about that part. Yeah, so here we go. I tell you, you coined it.
But I told y'all he slipped up a few times. Last season, the other 2 times with the he had a couple mess ups, and I told y'all it was already 2 strikes for him, and now this is the third one. I mean, he ran up on dude with no bullets, and then last season the issue he had. Now this is going to be another issue. So
Yeah.
it just makes me wonder how much longer Nat is going to be on the team.
Well, do you think that he will go to Bumpy with the offer for the cocaine now that Bumpy is out of the doogie? Because they could potentially make a whole lot of money.
Remember now, Chance is probably already taking that information back to Bumpy. And now he's going to have to explain how he messed that up, because Bumpy's probably not into him dealing with somebody else's wife in the first place, because that's not the kind of man Bumpy is. So
but he didn't know that he was.
I was about to say, Chance don't know none of that happened, and I don't think
no, he wouldn't. But I'm saying by the time Pettigrew goes back and says, "Well, Bumpy, this is what happened. I was dealing with this chick, and I found out she was married," that's not going to set well with Bumpy.
And it's Battles, man.
Yeah,
that's the issue. The fact that there's another option besides the Ducci, it's a good option. At least they got a plan B. However, the fact that he didn't murder the dude that's on Battle's team, and Bumpy and Battle are supposed to be partners now, that's going to be an issue.
Absolutely.
It can be. Yeah. I don't know how it's explained to Battle, or if it's explained to Battle. And of course it has to be
retribution. He might want
I don't know. Because the Battle's this gentleman that he shot, well, I mean, he had no real choice but to kill him because of the situation. So he's as much responsible.
It is an eye for an eye. He might well, you're gonna have to deal. I lost a man, you're gonna have to deal with your man. I mean, we'll see how he handles it, but he might.
It depends. I 6 in one, not half a dozen in the other with that. I don't know. But I do agree with Brother Nat might be on the chopping block.
Yeah. He messed up several times. So
it's a third strike.
This will be it for him. Yeah. I don't know how Bumpy gonna deal with that.
And Bumpy's dealing with a lot, just like we said earlier. And you can see that his own consciousness is really taking a front stage to everything, because he's it's in his face and it's bothering him.
He even said it to Mamie. He was like, I feel worse, like I have to go back to pleading with them to give me drugs like I did when I was a nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's already feeling down and out.
Right.
More bad news ain't gonna help. I mean, it really ain't gonna help.
No. That's why I'm hoping the plan B works out.
Yeah. So talk about Malcolm. He has returned back to the States, and he's been getting calls to the house, death threats. And so, Betty rightfully sent the kids away, but Malcolm wants to bring them back. And Elise also has some stuff going on now that she's back in the States with Omar. So he has been groveling with her, feeling all the remorse. They always come back, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
But I don't know. Do you guys think he's sincere in his efforts? We already know he's trying to join Malcolm's organization, but he has ulterior motives because he's really trying to get back in with Elise. So the question of his sincerity came up in this episode, and Elise consulted several people, which is a good idea to do, so she could find a solution, use her better judgment to determine whether she should trust Omar. What do you guys think?
Well, she really did like him, and he liked her prior to his excommunications from
or her excommunication.
Well,
they put her out of the mosque,
and he as well once everything went left. So I think he really cares for Elise.
I think he does too.
And so And besides that, and also I think he really now sees, and I'm not being naive, but I think he sees Malcolm differently because he's not poisoned by all the negative comments and things that was going on in that mosque. So he's not poisoned by that anymore. So it's possible that he is, honest. He wants both. He wants Elise and he wants to be a part of Malcolm's new campaign. We'll see. It's hard it's hard to tell at this point for me.
Yeah, I think he still loves her and stuff, but I think that Elise rightfully is she's right to be apprehensive about his true intentions and stuff, because he was trying to kill Malcolm. I mean, that's like, how do you come back from that?
Exactly. But she did make him swear on the Quran that he would not try to harm Malcolm at all. So, Betty kind of told her, if you want to see if he's truly sincere, then you're going to have to give him a chance. And she basically said, people change. And Elise is proof of that. Elise has done a complete, 180. And she even has been more experienced now going out into the world. She talked about her encounters with some of the African women leaders who were, being respected as women who lead. And so that was inspiring to her. And she's made a huge change with her life. So I think that she could see that it's possible for Omar to have also made a change and come to his senses. And so, she has to basically make him prove through his actions that he's sincere.
And that's all things are possible with God. So, the Bible, Quran, it transforms.
It does. Yes. And so if he's sincere, it'll show. And all things take time. But she truly loves him. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I was speaking of true love, I thought maybe Stella and Colombo might have been on to something, but this week he proved that he is not with the nonsense.
No.
Yeah, he's tired of Stella's little, campaign. Her actions are just getting on his nerves. And I think it should, because Stella doesn't seem to get the idea that if something were to happen, if he lets her go to France or wherever the heck she wants to go, and something happens to her.
Yep.
That's him. That's on him. Right.
And she doesn't seem to care about that. And he's been trying to make that point to her over and over and over again. I'm responsible for what happens to you. So you have to stay as close to me as possible. She doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah, I'm confused on Stella sometimes, because for one second she seemed like she falling for him and she might really be interested in him. She spared him from being jailed last week by the dude that was asking her for information. And then this week, it's like she's kind of like back to wanting her freedom. And I understand that she said she felt like she was caged.
She's playing.
I mean, I think she did feel sorry for him. And, he touched her when he said, "You're not a rat for real," and stuff. So that's why she spared him. I think she does feel something for him. But at the same time, she's tired of being cooped up. Like she said, she wants her freedom and everything. And then she said she can read people. She knew he was lying to her when he said that he communicated
to the lawyer,
to the lawyer, and also reached out to her dad and stuff. So she called him out, but he checked her too, like.
But she's not snitch proof, because he came back on this episode and said you shouldn't have gone to the federal police anyway.
He told her what you did, everything that's happening to you now is because you put it on yourself.
You put that on yourself.
This is why you were here, because you ran your mouth to the feds.
Exactly.
So that was a hard dose of reality for Stella right there.
Right, you did this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, there was so much that went on in this episode, and I think like it's leading us into a good leading for the remainder of the season, because episode 6 coming up. But it's like all of this stuff, like every time we watch a new episode, it's like the ante is being upped. And this back and forth between Bumpy and the Italians, it's like, okay, Bumpy, he won last week, then this week he got got
setback.
Now it's like, okay, so what's next? How is he going to come back from this? Is it going to be a continuing feud with the Italians, or is he going to pursue another route with the cocaine? So I'm excited to keep watching and learning what's going to happen here.
Mm-hmm. And when think about this, like if, something happens between he and Mamie that they are off kilter, that's the chink in his armor, because he has always been supportive and his right hand and everything, his confidant, everything. And so if she is fed up and she, decides to roll out on him because of what happened to that artist, he's really gonna come undone.
Yeah.
That would be his demise, and just about every aspect, business wise and everything else. Although I still don't see her leaving because of that. But again, it does add another chink to his armor, of all the things that are going on. What'd you say?
I said I do. I see her leave. Even if it's just temporary. It may not be for good. I see her stepping away from him for a minute.
But I still see Mamie as needing him as much as he needs her.
Yeah.
I think that they're in a web that just they can't escape from. They both need each other.
Yeah, it might be temporary, but I think she's gonna be so distraught once she hears about this junkie. I mean, not even say the junkie, the artist, but he is a junkie.
I guess.
But I said once she hears about the artist,
it might be final straw.
I could see her giving Bumpy an ultimatum after she hears about his death and how he died. I can honestly see her saying, if you don't get out of this drug game, I'm gone.
But think about this, though. Think about this, because if he does pursue the cocaine, people in Harlem can't afford the cocaine. So it's kind of like they could almost both get what they want. Like his community, he wouldn't be pushing drugs on them anymore. He will be pushing it to a wealthier community, so he could still get his profits from the drug game and not affect the community.
But
maybe that could be the compromise. I don't know if there's a compromise to be had, but
well, there is. I mean, it depends on how you cut it. You can cut it to make it so weak and then bring the price down because of the cut. So it's not that he can't sell it to his community.
Well, as it is, he can't. I don't think
not as it is
the point where they start making crack yet.
Well, no, it's not. But it's all about cutting it. Just as they said, you can cut it with powdered milk, all sorts of things. So, but then I'm not a mixologist, so don't take my word for it. I don't know.
But I guess it would still be going into the community in that way. But if he keeps it pure and pushes it to a higher clientele, then he could isolate himself from Harlem and still do his drug thing.
That's true. And maybe it's time to move out of Harlem. Maybe it's time for him to step up and, go to Manhattan or someplace else, and sell it out of Harlem. Maybe this is a good omen for him. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. You guys got anything else you want to add for this episode?
No, it was a good episode. Just please tune in into our interview with Mamie and Elise, Ilfinesh and Antoinette.
Yes, please do. That was a really good one. And also make sure you click the subscribe button on our channel and the notification bell so you're notified every time we post. The like button also help us to grow and reach a wider audience. And please drop down in that comment section and give us your thoughts on this episode and your predictions for the remainder of the season as well. If you are on social media, you can also follow us at The Spot Real Talk. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. So you're welcome to follow us there as well. And if you guys don't have anything else to add, I think we're going to call it a night. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all next week for episode 6.
Excellent.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
I don't want just anybody. Can you treat me like somebody?